So we're sinking our teeth now into the politics in Anambra State, and we're being joined via Zoom by Mr. Fab Ozoigbo, who's a political analyst. Mr. Ozoigbo, thank you for staying with us on the program this morning.
Thank you, my dear.
So let me start by asking you, as you look ahead of the November 2025 elections coming up for Anambra State, do you think that this is a smooth sailing for APGA? Because it doesn't look like there is a real opposition against the political party.
Well, in my own thinking, at my age, I'll be able to assess properly and tell you what the true position is. APGA is working, but other people who are coming up are trying to say we will surpass what APGA is doing already. But how far that could be will depend on how the people see each participant. Strongly, you have the APC, you have the Labour Party trying to struggle it out with APGA in the state, and you have YPP coming up also. You have PDP also coming up. The electorate will decide whether what APGA is doing today is sustainable for them or is what they want, or if APGA doesn't satisfy them, what else can they do? Who else can potentially upturn APGA? So it's something too early for any person to forecast what may happen. But as far as I'm concerned, APGA has done some job. The governor has done some job. But we still believe that when people come up with their programs, we will now look at them and see who is better or who can surpass what APGA is doing already. But for sure, there are people who want to take over, and we are watching.
You say it's too early, but for a party that is currently incumbent, as the APGA is currently the incumbent party in power, led by Professor Soludo, if the opposition is going to gain ground, shouldn't they be gaining ground by now? We saw a situation within the PDP, for instance, where there was a lot of reluctance for people to even come and buy the forms of the party. And people always also wonder if the APC is alive and well in Anambra State. So they're wondering, if the opposition parties are, living up to the billing of opposition party, if they're really to give APGA a run for its money come November.
Yes, what I mean by it's too early to make prediction and then say exactly what the whole state will look like towards November is that most of the parties have not, given us their manifestos, so that we can compare them with what APGA is doing already. Professor Soludo, I don't criticize people just for preciseness sake. I believe Professor Soludo is doing some work. But by the time we see the manifesto for other parties, we're able to, look at them properly, objectively, and say, yes, we have one or two who can surpass what is done already. Because all over the world, in other climes, politics is done based on manifestos, and people mean their manifestos. People want to do their manifestos. Well, in Nigeria, people are still learning to do their manifestos because it is the manifestos that gives you the ingredients of what the man is trying, the vision of the man, what the man is trying to offer. And it is the manifestos that will help us now compare and contrast if Soludo is doing better or if he's going to continue. But the good thing about Anambra today is that Anambra people still believe that the zoning that has been in Anambra, it will still continue. That's why people are looking at the southern area for their candidates, to come from there. But as far as we are concerned, to me, I think it's too early to make proper predictions until you see the manifestos, until you see what the visions of other parties are. You can't make a reasonable comparison between them and the present APGA government.
Let me take this conversation to my colleague in Lagos, Ayo.
Of the party. Apologies for that. Now, you also heard something that the governor said earlier, that irrespective of how long you've been away from the party, for how long you've joined the party, whether you joined a long time ago or you just joined 2-3 hours ago, you are equal members of the party. Does that How does that sound to you? Does that sound like, okay, the newest person in the party can also contest for office or have equal stake with anyone who's been there for a long time?
I hear you clearly.
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you now, but I didn't hear what you said earlier.
Okay. I said, you know, when the governor was talking about equal membership, he said that whether you joined a long time ago or you just joined it some hours ago, you are equal members of the same party, of APGA. Does that in any way suggest that everyone has equal stake, irrespective of for how long they've slaved for the party, so to speak?
Well, if I can get you clearly, what the governor is suggesting or what he's saying is his personal view about his party and himself. I still insist that when we hear other views, we're able to compare what he's saying and then what others want to do, to be able to make proper prediction, to be able to make, what content they have in all the groups, to be able to say that Soludo will continue or not. But as far as the state is concerned, as I said earlier, that Soludo is doing some job, but we would like to look at other parties' manifestos, want to look at Labour, want to look at APC, want to look at PDP, YPP manifestos. We need to look at all these things and be able to compare what they have in their team with what Soludo is doing. This is not the time for criticism, for now. It's the time to compare and contrast and be able to make predictions. In fact, a number of people, we are looking for the best. And the best will only come when we know every person is contesting and what makes them tick or not.
Okay. Now, speaking to that, there are some people who would wonder, what else do we want as a people? Now, there are a number of people who would want to first of all ask you, are you saying by any chance that the governor is underperforming?
No, I didn't say he's underperforming. You see, performance is relative. You can only give what you have. You can't give what you don't have. So it's too early to say if he's underperforming until you see other people who want to perform. Now, if somebody is doing some roads, is offering some infrastructural development, and he's offering some certain things on security, it's hard to say he's underperforming. But when others come with superior manifestos that will, should make his own ordinary, we will look at them and then compare. But to say he's underperforming now will be just begging the issue. As far as I'm concerned, there is no basis to make that, a sanction for now, until we see other people's manifestos and what they have in their manifestos. We cannot say he's underperforming. I can't say, at my age, I can't say that somebody who is doing some work around the state is underperforming. Until we see what others plan to do, then we can compare properly.
Okay, it's interesting because what plays in my head, sir, is a comparison of a managing director in an organization that is doing very well. It's on contract. It's on a 4-year contract. Managing director of this organization, doing wonderfully well and being praised by members of staff of the organization. It's an international conglomerate, and everyone is praising this guy.
I'm not hearing you properly. I'm not hearing you properly.
Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you better now, yeah.
Wonderful. So I'm saying that, based on what you said, let's compare, the governor with an MD, a managing director of an international organization, a conglomerate that is doing wonderfully well. All the staff are praising him. All the stakeholders are praising him. All the members of the board are saying he's doing very well. And then someone comes and says, he's doing very well, but he's on contracts. He's doing exceptionally well. We bandied some manifestos before we employed him. Now we need to employ another one. We need to consider another one. Even though this one is doing very well, let's consider other people's application before we reapply or reconfirm this fellow for a second contract. That sounds like what you are saying right now. I'm wondering, how do you think that people of Anambra would react to that?
What you're saying is different from what I'm saying. You are saying in a company where every person is shouting Hosanna, for the managing director. That's not the situation in Anambra State. Every person is not shouting Hosanna for a governor. I'd like to give an example. The security issue was just started just this year, after about 2 or 2 years of suffering. So some people don't pick that as a very good day. But for the fact that it started now, it's still all right. But it's not like the comparison you're making. Every person is not shouting Hosanna in Anambra State for him. Some people still believe he's doing some development. Quite all right. They have not gone to all parts of the states. And there are some people also complaining that I said he's performing. Means it's just my maturity that he's doing some work, some infrastructure work, until we see what others want to say and want to do. But that does not mean that every person is shouting Hosanna for the present governor. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
Now, trust is a difficult thing to build, Mr. Anambra, and I'm wondering how you think that can happen. As you said, the governor was not really doing enough. Perhaps I don't know. He'll want to speak to that himself. But then you said now that he's begun to do some things. Could it be that he's begun to do these things because he's looking for second term, or he was taking stock so that he can actually begin to do these things sustainably?
Yes, there is always absolute truth. Both of them can be correct, depending on who is looking at the issues. He could be taking his stocks. If that is all right, that is all right. But to average Anambra person, a lot of blood has been shed before he started taking this particular action. But that he started taking is good for people like us. That he started taking action. One would have said that this might be for election period. Like I was going through Anambra State, and I've seen massive destruction of roads. Not destruction per se, but trying to excavate things for new things to pass through. But one would wonder, why do all this in rainy season? Would the rains allow this road to go to its full completion? Well, I'm not in the government. I have some friends in government. But the issue is this. Everything being done now will be looked upon as election year program. Whether they will continue after the election is something we're not sure of. But they would have been better if they were done earlier, especially security. You see, one single person's blood is too much for every other thing. But that he has started doing something is left for a number of people to compare when the right time comes. But for the security, for the road infrastructure that is going on, whatever he does today is for a number of people. But the timing, some people might question, is not right. They might be all for the election purpose. But be that as it may, we want to see people who will do better things than him. If they have, let them show us.
Okay.
That's my take.
Okay. Well, the governor will have to, come speak for himself, because there are those who would say that the insecurity issues predate the governor, and but he'd have to come speak for himself. But lastly from me to you, let me ask you, what's your assessment of the communication between government and the people of Anambra has been like under the Soludo administration for the past almost 4 years? What's your assessment of how the communication between government and the people are? How government gives information and how the people, give the feedback, and vice versa. Did you see any communication? Have you seen good communication that led to significant development, or a sense of ownership from the people to the government?
Okay, my dear. To me, Lex, I am wrong, but the communication issue is still very, very low. I think I watched the governor saying that I'm from Ihala. I watched the governor saying that time that maybe security issues are giving him a problem in Ihala. That's why development is not going on in Ihala. I say, who will provide the security? Who does do that but for the government? So my take is this. The communication, there is serious communication gap between the governor presently, in my own understanding, and what he's doing. Unless I didn't hear the media right, if I didn't get what he said right. Because if you're saying that security or cooperation with the people is not making it to work, who will make them cooperate with you? But you have the power. You're elected to help the people. And so this 4 years is for you. And then if you communicate with them well, what your problems are, what you think is your problem, they will understand if they are not being unnecessarily obstructive. But if you communicate properly, that's where I think the Information Commissioner should examine if what they're doing is what they think benefit the people. But I don't want to have excuses like other people won't like to have excuses, where people say that the people's non-cooperative attitude or insecurity is making them the place. Who provide the security in the first instance? Is it not the governor? Is it not the government? We're all part of the government. And I will say something here. When people go to governance in Nigeria, near Anambra State properly, people tend to look at this as a family thing. The government belongs to the people. You should explain to them what you are doing. Take time to explain to them what you are doing, because the money you are spending is their money. It's not your private money. If you take time to explain to them what you are doing, they will appreciate you better. So if they are listening to what we are saying or what I'm saying, they should be able to send people to explain what they're doing, their difficulties, their good moments, and those who criticize properly, objectively. We know when to criticize them, because I don't criticize at all times. You just criticize properly. Where something is not being done well, you say it. Where things are being done well, you say it. But in terms of communication, I think there is a low degree percentage there.
Mr. Ozoigbo, I don't know. Do you think that the people of Anambra are sentimental about APGA? Because, you know, APGA has been in power since 2003 in Anambra State, and it would seem that regardless of all of the other shenanigans that have happened with political parties around the Southeast, APGA seems to have held on very strongly in Anambra. Do you think that it could also involve some sentimentality here, and perhaps that sentimentality might see them through the November elections?
Yes, I understand your sentiments. The sentiment is there quite all right. But the truth is this. The people of Anambra State are hungry, very, very hungry for development. So if you have been under a certain sentiment for a long period, this is the time to re-examine the situation. But that is when you have an alternative. Until the alternative starts coming, one wouldn't say what will happen next. The sentiment is there because of Ojuku, because of other people. I can tell you, the last governor before this governor had his hand put squarely on security. We had wonderful security in Anambra State before he left. But immediately after he left, we started having a lot of things happening in Anambra State. Because without security, you can't have any good development. But thank God they have just started this year. And those who are doing, doing the security thing, I think they're doing fine. But how people will analyze the security started this year is a different ballgame when the election comes. Whether this is being done for election or not. But ultimately, I know that God gives power. If God knows that this is from the bottom of their heart and is from a good conscience, God will reward any person who does anything good. But if it's not from good conscience, I believe something will happen that will not be palatable to them.
Well, it's certainly fingers crossed and eyes at the eyes in Anambra. We have to thank you very much for coming on the program this morning. Mr. Fab Ozoigbo is a political analyst and also a political commentator. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here. Thank you.
Well, we'll take a break now, and when we come back, we'll be turning our eyes to the power sector. What is happening with the sanctions recently imposed on some discos in recent times? We'll be taking a look at that when we come back from this break. Please stay with us.